Hey guys, Marmalade here, and thank you so much for joining me for episode 4 of What I've Learned on the PCT. So again, we have 4 questions. I'm going to start right away, but please, I'm looking for more questions. We've got enough questions for 2 or 3 more videos, but I would love more if you have any, if you're curious, let's say you're thinking about doing a thru hike anywhere, but especially the PCT, or you don't care, but you're just curious about things and why crazy people go out there for almost a half a year in the wilderness and what we experience and see and do. So please bring the questions on if you're curious about something. And let's get on to question number 1. And I gotta find my place here, but all right, I found it. Our first question is from Tim T. What's your favorite kind of landscape and terrain, and why? That's a good question, because I haven't finished the whole PCT yet, but I've hiked a lot of places, a lot of trails and a lot of places, and by far my favorite overall terrain and the best place I've ever backpacked so far is the Northern Cascades. I'll show a few clips here when I was there, but the most incredible, stunning place, and we're all different, right? Some people even just like to lay at the beach, some people like to hike in the mountains, some people go to the desert. For me, mountains and forest is where it's at for me. And you know, you go through the Sierras, there's mountains and forests in the desert portion. They all have beautiful places, but it felt like it was almost like sensory overload, because I described the Northern Cascades, it's almost like the jungle, but it's forest. It's super, super dense. And you go down in the low, there's water everywhere. So one of the bonuses, you don't have to carry much water. Just thickets and dense, cool trees. You have shade from the, protected from the sun. And it's nice and cool. They have very steep, tough climbs. But what I liked too was that there's payoff. When you got to some of these peaks, and I don't think much of the mountains are over 6,000 or 7,000 feet, at least on the trail. And but you get to the top, and then you get some of these views, and it's just incredible. You can see sometimes glaciers and snow-capped peaks, and the overall experience was just amazing for me. And it was just weird. It's like I'd never been to Washington until I hiked, and it was like I was home. And so I would say Northern Cascades. Second would be for sure the Sierra. It's a lot of times you're up high, so you're above a lot of the tree lines, so it's rockier there, but definitely in the trees a lot too. But yeah, for me, I actually want to answer this too. I love seeing different things. It's kind of like I kind of related to eating steak. If you love steak, if you're a meat eater, steak is amazing, but you would get sick of it if you ate it every day. So for me, just having forests and mountains every day would get boring after a while, just like the desert, which is where I hike in the San Diego area on the PCT. It doesn't get old for me, but it is a lot of the same. So I like the variety. I actually welcome. It doesn't have to be my favorite. It's still, I embrace it because it's different than what I'm used to. And yeah, that's your answer, Tim. All right, my second question is from Jamie Gets Outside. Is hitching on trail difficult? And have you ever had any sketchy experiences? For that matter, is it tough not having everything pre-planned? So this is a great question, because you were taught as kids, do not hitchhike, right? I think it was a thing in the 60s and 70s, and when you wanted to get somewhere, you just hitched. I think it was a more innocent time back then compared to now. So yeah, I mean, I never hitched till I was 56 when I started my thru hike in 2019, and I had never hitchhiked in my life. So I did worry about that a lot. But it kind of goes hand in hand with the question about is it tough not having everything pre-planned and many times just having to wing it? Well, I got really anal about having every single aspect of my thru hike planned. And then I kind of woke up and decided that, yes, you need a plan, like where do I want to send a resupply box, or I've got there was a couple places where there's 25-mile hitches into towns, right? And you're on a road that's not very busy. Like I worried about that, and just like, how am I going to get a hitch? I'm not supposed to hitch, and am I going to get a hitch? And is it going to be somebody weird or sketchy? And I got mired in all the pre-planning, and I decided that I would use the trail for something in my personality which I don't like, which is over-planning things. Not necessarily over-planning, but having the feeling like I had to have every single last thing planned, or else it wasn't going to be a happy, successful trip. And so I did use my thru hike, and I still do every time I go out, to trust the process. That in life, really, we always worry about a lot of this stuff. It doesn't have to be hiking. It could be things that happen in your life, and we get mired in. Hold on a second. I'll get something to drink here. Always get orange when you have a sports drink, just so you know. But we get mired in those kind of details, there's things you have to plan on a through hike. You know, where am I going to get new shoes? Where am I going to get resupplies? Do I need to send a box, or can I buy in town? There's things you have to think about, but you don't even have to plan every inch of it. You can just plan the first couple hundred miles and then plan the next 100. You don't have to plan way out, you know. And so I decided to use the trail to start working on that part of my personality, which is plan the things I need to and let the other things happen organically. And it did. And I mean, even now, you know, I'm 4 years into trying to finish this thing, and I've needed help. I mean, when I'm on trail, we get hitches and people help you, but also, like, I've had just random people that have become friends that have reached out to me. Like, I've been thinking, like, next year I got to get on trail. How am I going to get there, you know? I try not to use my channel to ask for things. If people want to help and send a resupply box, or they want to, they live in the area I need to get on trail, and I've this year was Mike and Dave in previous years, and I've had 2 days, one Dave in Big Bear and one in Seattle, and they've become friends, not just people that help me. And I know from giving back that giving and helping people makes you feel good too. And so I've just learned that, to answer your question, plan the things that are important to you, and the rest of it, it's going to happen. I mean, why would you, and this is what I did, so I'm asking you a question. Why would I worry about some tough hitch that you look in Far Out app and it says, man, it took us 2 hours, but why would I worry about that when it's, you know, 2,000 miles down the trail? It's something I can't worry about, and why? It doesn't change anything anyway, right? So I've really trusted the process, and every year it gets a little bit easier because I've just been through it more. You know, I think when you are new at it, and I know it's different for a female, you know, maybe hitching by yourself, it could be a little more sketchy. But if you get in that situation, you get somebody that seems sketchy, just say, no thanks, I appreciate it, but I'll wait for the next ride, or, you know, make up a fib, maybe think about it ahead of time to get out of it, and trust your instincts. But that was it's been a good learning experience in that area. So thanks for the question. All right, question number 3 is from Stephen Martin. He asked, what gear have you changed over the years, and what items did you change transitioning from the desert to the Sierra to Oregon, apart from the obvious like a bear can? Looking back on what you did, what would you do differently? So thank you for the question, Stephen. Yeah, my through hike's been, I've had more time, right? Normally when you do a through hike, and if you finish, you only have that five and a half, 6 month period. And so you don't have time to experience things and think about it and buy new gear. Well, I did 902 miles my first year, and I've gone back and done 300 mile plus sections every year since then. So I've had time to go back and say, well, I'm going to bring just this for this section because I'm only doing this section. But a lot of times when you're doing a through hike, your stuff has to carry over. But to answer your question about the Sierra, besides the bear can, I had planned for my Sierra, but I couldn't do it. Remember, in 2019 was the El Nino winter, and the snow levels were over 200 percentile, so there was no way. And I also got the desert done too fast. I did, I don't know, 702 miles of the desert in like 5 or 6 weeks. And I got there on May 16th, and June 15th is the normal year to go in the Sierras, and this was over 200 percentile snow, so there was no way, and you know what, I was going in. But I had prepared, I had my micro spikes. I bought waterproof, almost knee-high gaiters to go over, because I wear shorts, so I wanted to kind of protect my lower legs. And so I got gaiters up to my knees. I had ice axe. Well, actually, I was prepared to bring the ice axe. And what else? I brought an extra layer of clothing, just a layer, because, you know, it was a lot of snow and it gets cold up there in the Sierras at night, especially if I kind of got in early. But as it turned out, I ended up flipping and skipping it anyway. And then in 2021, if you've watched my videos, I went back in at Kennedy Meadows, started August something, 14th, something like that. And I mean, it was 95 degrees when I left Kennedy Meadows, and there was no snow anywhere. So I purposely picked that year because it was dry, there wasn't much snow anywhere. So you know, I was able to do Whitney and all the passes. So when I had flipped, let me ask you a question too. When I flipped my year, when I went to the desert and flipped up to Washington, I hadn't done Oregon, and really I've not brought anything different for Oregon to answer your question. When I flipped up there, I made sure I had a good rain jacket. I brought a rain cover, a pack cover that I didn't bring in the desert, but there wasn't much different really. I mean, really the only main place that generally you do something different is the Sierra, and that's what I had planned, but it didn't work out that way. All right, guys, my 4th and final question is from Shanks Mayer, and he asked me, are there other PCT vloggers you would recommend? I love this question because I found out I've lived in the San Diego area for at that point 30 something years. In 2015, never heard of the PCT, was not a hiker. I've said this many times in my I wasn't even a backpacker. I wasn't even a day hiker. But I went to the showing of, in early 2016, of 2015 PCT class video, and I was enamored and in love with it. Had no idea what the PCT was, and I couldn't fathom that people went 2,653 miles. But to answer your question, how I got into it, I didn't know much about it. I went on YouTube and I started watching vlogs. Now in 2016, not a lot of people were doing them, and they weren't really done very well. But I'm going to go over some of the ones, and I'll show you a little screenshot of their channel, and definitely, if they sound good, subscribe to them. But this is how I learned about the channel. I still was not a backpacker, but I was watching through hikes. So I had to write a list because there's so many of them. And I'll try to tell you a little bit about each one, but let's see what I wrote here. So probably my all-time favorite one, it's very obscure, and the other person who loves this guy is the Hiking Rev, and he's like the only person I know that really knows who he is Captain Dan. Captain Dan. And he went in, I think he went in 2015. He made it about 2/3 of the way, and then 2016 he got on trail where he left off and finished it. So when I got interested in 16, I got to watch the whole through hike because he had just vlogged it all. And honestly, it's not very well filmed. He gets better as he goes, but I wanted to see what this trail was about. And he's very honest. When a day sucks, he's honest about everything. He's an older guy, like around my age, and didn't start out in very good shape. He admittedly was not a strong hiker. He just hiked a lot of hours to get 20 miles a day. He would just hike 2 miles an hour for 10 hours, and that was 20 miles a day. But he's very, very quick-witted, sharp-witted. He has super good sense of humor. He does some funny skits while he's out on trail. And you watch some of his videos from home right before he gets ready to get on trail. They're short and they're hilarious. And when he gets to the terminus to start, he makes a 2-minute video that's hilarious. So check him out, Captain Dan. And the funny thing about him is, and you guys will not believe this, over the last 7 years since I've been into the backpacking and the PCT, I have watched he has 130 or 40 or 50 videos. He vlogged every day on trail like I have. I've watched every video. I've watched his whole vlog, his hike, 10 times. I can't believe it, over the years. So one day I wrote him, he's hasn't really posted anything lately, but I wrote him and just said, hey, I just want you to know how much your videos meant to me. I have actually watched your series 10 times. And in classic fashion of a sense of humor, he responds back simply, why would you do that? So, yeah, why would you watch this thing 10 times? So that's how he is, very humble, but he's a good guy, Captain Dan. Okay, some other ones, following Redbeard, John Sahorian, Nemo doesn't hike anymore, but I really enjoyed his. He did it southbound, and I really enjoyed his hikes. The rest over the years, they're not in particular order, but I really enjoyed them. And let me, I have it on this other page here. Let's see here. We have, of course, the Hiking Rev, who's become a good friend of mine that I hike with. Darwin on the trail, of course. A guy that went a couple years ago, Trail Dork. He's from the UK. The Whimsical Woman. Jay Wanders Out, who I've met and I feel like I know. He just did the AT. One guy you might not know, a young guy named Mitch Lennington, and he's pretty incredible. I was really impressed with this guy. He did the PCT when he was 18 years old. He did the AT when he was 19. I could have this wrong. He skipped 2020, I think. 2020 or 2021 because of COVID, I think. And then this last year he did the CDT. So he's a triple crowner at 21 years old. Just incredible natural hiker. Very mature and well-spoken for how old or young he is. So Mitch Lennington. One of my favorites all time right there with Captain Dan is sloanybones. His trail name is Chocolate Balls, but on YouTube he's sloanybones. Really, really personable, great guy. Introduces lots of people on the trail, people to give him rides, shows you the towns. Really great. So watch him. And then this year, a guy, if you're watching this, is Lord Quiche. He's from the UK also, I think from Wales. And I think he's watched, we've written a little bit before he started his hike and after, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Lord Quiche, but I think you knew of me and watched my videos that might have helped you in the desert. But he did a really amazing job with this hike this year, and his trail name is Sparkle Lizard, but yeah, his channel is called Lord Quiche. And also Ivy Tap, he's a little rough around the edges, but makes incredible videos. Of course, Dixie with Homemade Wanderlust. And probably the most well-made, let me get her name, the most well-made, well-produced, and she does it for a living, of videos. Was my year in 19 she went. I never met her on trail. She didn't put them out till 2020, but is Elena Osborne. Incredible. And just check her out. She's I think from New Zealand. I apologize if I get that wrong, but she just did the Te Aurora too, so she has just incredible videos. But the PCT ones are just so well done, and I study them all the time, and I so far can't seem to emulate her. But yeah, so I hope that helps you guys. In answer to the question, I'll give you some more people to watch. That's how I learned way back when, and it's more trendy to vlog now, but it wasn't back then. I think the equipment wasn't so great, but I was just getting ravenous with the trail, and I wanted to see it. And then eventually, when I thought maybe I want to do this trail, I wanted to watch them to see, I've never seen all the parts of the trail, but at my age, do I think I can handle the trail, like the different parts? So that was part of it. So I watch it kind of three ways: for entertainment, also to see the trail, see parts of it, and also I look at it from a content creator's aspect, where I want to see, like, I get ideas for shots and angles and lighting and just things like that, just different ways that I've never thought of, or I don't do. And so I do it because I'm a content creator. I don't just sit there and watch. Early on I did, because I wasn't making videos, but now I do. But I think that answers your questions, Shanks Mare. I hope you like that answer. That's a long answer. But that is it, you guys. Again, please throw me some questions. You have some questions about the PCT and maybe something I could help you with, or just answer if you're interested. And of course, we want you to subscribe and like, hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified. I've got some other series going on, and I'm starting to go back on, do my San Diego 100 Peaks list of videos, so check that out. Also, I'm starting this new series I'm really stoked about called Why Are We Here? I'm about to put out my third video on that. So lots to watch, lots of different kinds of content, mostly outdoors. And I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at episode 5. Bye.